Howdy, everybody. Another episode of Story Time. I was watching a friend on another channel make some comments, and the nice lady was basically had laryngitis, had problems with her voice. So it reminded me of a true story that happened, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And I wanted to share it with you guys because I haven't really shared a story time with you guys in a while. A lot of stuff's been going on, but the weather is kind of iffy right now. Hopefully none of the lawn care people come in because they're usually due around this time. So hopefully they don't interrupt what's happening here. But I was driving in Fort Myers. I was driving down Tamiami Trail. Tamiami Trail stands for Tampa to Miami. It was a road built a long time ago. And so I was heading south. I was in Estero, Florida. And when you come southbound on it would be the west side of the road, there's a little trailer park type deal, and it's called the covered wheel, covered wagon, or something covered, or something like that. And it doesn't have a real good reputation. There's been some problems there over the years. And as I'm driving by, I see a young kind of I would say, like, when I say young, this girl is 13 or 14. I'm not sure how old she was. And she was running from a Caucasian male. And she was, there's the phone every time. Dang it. She looked to be Hispanic, and she was running from a Caucasian male. So I pulled over. And unfortunately, I had laryngitis so bad I could not speak. And I wanted to, I could tell she kept looking at me like she had this look. It was very, I don't know how to describe this. She had this look. She was looking at me directly and saw me, even though I couldn't speak. I was trying to force words out. And the Caucasian male, who was definitely not her father. He was probably 14 years older than her, and I knew the reputation of that trailer park, not very good. There's been some sites in that community, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on. So I had this calling in my heart to save this young lady, but I can't even vocalize to sound intimidating to tell the person, I could use some colorful language. I don't want to do it on this platform, but that's what I wanted to do. But I just couldn't squeak anything out of my, when you can barely talk, you sound very weak. You know what I mean? And not intimidating. And at that point, I was a little bit bigger. I was in a lot better shape. And she keeps looking back at me, and he's F-bombing her and all this stuff, and take her back. And then I see someone trying to exit the trailer park. So I go over there, and I can't even call 911 because I can't even talk. Like, laryngitis was so bad. It was the worst I've ever had it in my life. I've only had it a couple times, but man, it was really bad. So I'm calling, or trying to talk to them. I say calling because I'm hearing the damn phone. This phone drives me nuts, but why I never get any rest or any sleep. But so I try and approach this truck, and I realize I'm probably talking to the enemy, but I'm trying to tell them, call 911. And I'm trying to force that out as hard as it was for me to do. And then all of a sudden I see some gangbangers come up to the entrance of the trailer park, and they're challenging me. Well, I can't talk, so I can't even sound intimidating. So I'm thinking to myself, do I just whip this guy's behind right here he's probably packing, or what's the best thing to save that young lady's life now? So now I lost visual uh, sight of her to where she was taken, and it was really really hard for me to not take action because I've never been afraid to do that. But by the same token, sometimes you need your voice to let people know that, hey, you're not playing games. But if you can't talk, you're not intimidating in any fashion. Back then, I probably weighed about 185, 190. I was in a lot better shape. You know, I've lost probably 30 or 35 pounds. And you'll see it, see how I'm not that big of a dude anymore thanks to the Hurricane Ian diet. But the so I'm pissed. So I forced myself to call. I called the non-emergency number. It kind of pisses me off because, to me that was an emergency, and I'm forced, and I'm having the hardest time communicating, and I'm telling them I think this is a bad situation. I think this girl's being held against her will, and there's a lot of what they call it human trafficking and sex trafficking that goes on, and Florida's kind of known for that. So I was very adamant that I'm not going to abandon this girl, even though I felt like I did, because I was trying to get her to, like, I couldn't talk, I couldn't communicate to her, just come to me, just come to me, because at that point, if she kept looking back at me like in her eyes was saying, save me, and the Caucasian male was like F-bombing me and telling me to pack sand. And I knew it wasn't a good situation for the young lady. So I hope she was not beaten or anything worse happened. And, she was, it was definitely a bad situation. Finally, the police show up. It took them a while to show up. I'm explaining to them at the best of my ability. It was really hard to talk. And they said, we'll look. So they just drove around the trailer park, and I watched from across the street. They did like a 2-minute drive by, and they left. So I was pretty pissed off, right? Because I'm like, man, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. I realized they just can't go kick in every door in the trailer park. But I felt like there could have been a better, what they call it, canvas search. Talk to some of the neighbors, and eventually somebody in there's got to be like somewhat decent human being. They didn't really do that, so I was pretty pissed. So they come back and talk to me, and I was like, that's they're talking to me, and I could barely squeak out any words, and I was really really pissed at that point. So I go home, and I do a bunch of research on organizations for human trafficking and sex trafficking. And I found an organization in Fort Myers. I was able to call, and I had a really hard time talking to the lady. And I'm trying to tell her what happened. And I said, please don't disregard this. This is a very serious situation. And I'm talking to her, and she goes, well, I work closely with the police department. We have, and she was telling me, like, in a roundabout backdoor way. She goes, yes, I have a lot of contacts in the police department, and that location is on the radar. They know about that location. So I'm like, thank you. I said, but this young lady, I described her to the best of my ability. I said, I truly feel she's a victim. Somebody needs to go in there undercover or whatever you got to do, but she needs to be looked for and try and found, because that's a real bad situation. I don't need like police officers tell me, when you see fear in someone's eyes and they're looking at you like please save me. It sucks when you can't. I wish I had CCW permit or something like that I could have done something more even without a voice. I felt like I failed that young lady. I'm not going to lie. I tried to do everything in my powers, and I kept calling back to that agency, and people finally got tired of hearing from me. But I wanted them to know that is definitely should be on your radar. And I don't know whatever happened to that young lady. Hopefully she survived. So hopefully she was not abused in any way. But it was obvious she was, she was running for her life for a reason. Somebody was physically assaulting her, or some other options, possibilities. So the laryngitis happened at the worst time in my life, because I knew if I could speak and sound intimidating and not back down. It's like when you can barely squeak out, you sound like olive oil, on the cartoon Popeye. It's hard to sound intimidating. But I felt like usually in stressful situations and violent situations, stuff like that, usually I react very well. I tried to react with my best ability on that particular day. I just knew I was somewhat weak to a degree, and it really sucked, because if I could have rescued that young lady, we might have found out a whole bunch of information that was like vital to her success, possibly the success. I say success, saving some other people in that little, scumbag trailer park, and it still haunts me to this day. So I'm gonna end that video, folks, and I just wanted to share another story time with you. It's heartbreaking to me, and I just wanted to share. I wish I could have done more. I tried to do everything I could. Sometimes you second guess yourself. I'm thinking like I should have just bit the bullet and just taken whatever was gonna, if it could have, even if there was gunfire or something like that, even if I was injured, or perhaps, my life was terminated trying to do something to save a young lady, I felt like I probably could have done more. And it kind of haunts me to this day still. So I'm going to end that, folks, and always try and look out for other people. Be very observant. Keep your head on the swivel and help when you can. Peace out, folks. Thanks for watching. Talk to you.